Hi Reddit, I'm Ethan. Now I am 27. It all started with my ex, Madison. We've been together for 3 years, college sweethearts, or so I thought. She was the kind of girl who turned heads everywhere she went. Long blonde hair, bright blue eyes, and a smile that could light up a room. And she knew it. I guess I should have seen the red flags. Madison loved attention, always posting selfies, soaking up compliments, and flirting just a little too much with other guys. But I ignored it because I thought what we had was real. Until the night, everything fell apart. I remember the moment like it was yesterday. I was at her apartment, scrolling through my phone while she was in the shower. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I wouldn't have checked it, except the name that popped up was Ryan, her co-worker. The guy she swore was just a friend. My stomach twisted as I stared at the screen. Curiosity got the better of me. I knew I shouldn't have, but I opened the message anyway. Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you. My heart dropped. I scrolled up and found texts going back weeks, flirty messages, inside jokes, and worse. Photos. I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. My hands shook as I put the phone down and sat there, trying to process what I'd just seen. When Madison came out of the bathroom, towel wrapped around her, she froze the moment she saw my face. Ethan, what's wrong? I held up her phone. Ryan, really? Her eyes went wide, then narrowed. Why were you looking at my phone? Don't turn this on me. I snapped. How long has this been going on? She crossed her arms, her expression hardening. So what if I was texting him? It's not like we were serious. 3 years, Madison. I shouted. 3 years. And you're telling me we weren't serious? She rolled her eyes. Oh, come on. You're acting like we were going to get married. Look, Ethan, you're a nice guy, but let's be real. You're lucky you even got a girl like me. Guys hit on me all the time, and I could have had anyone I wanted. You should be grateful I stayed with you this long. I stared at her, speechless. She smirked like she knew she'd won. Face it, you'll never find anyone like me. I'm way out of your league. That was the moment something inside me broke. I grabbed my jacket, my voice cold and steady. You're right. I'll never find anyone like you. And thank God for that. Then I walked out and never looked back. The first few weeks after the breakup were hell. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus at work. Madison's words echoed in my head. You'll never find anyone like me. I started hitting the gym, more to clear my mind than anything else. Lifting weights, running until my legs burned, it became my escape. I cut back on junk food, cleaned up my diet, and slowly started seeing results. At first, it was just about proving to myself that I could be better. But the more I pushed myself, the more confident I became. The guy I saw in a mirror wasn't the same heartbroken kid Madison had walked all over. I didn't just want to move on, I wanted to level up. Then came the night that changed everything. About 6 months after the breakup, I was at a friend's party. I wasn't really in the mood to socialize, but my buddy Jake dragged me out, insisting I needed to get back in the game. The house was packed, music thumping, people laughing and dancing. I grabbed a drink and found a quiet corner, watching the crowd with a mixture of boredom and envy. That's when I saw her. She stood across the room, talking with a group of friends. Long auburn hair, deep green eyes, and a smile that made my chest tighten. She wasn't just pretty, she was stunning. The kind of girl who could have been on the cover of a magazine. I must have been staring because Jake nudged me with his elbow. Dude, you should go talk to her. You're right, I muttered, taking a sip of my drink. She's way out of my league. Jake laughed. Man, have you seen yourself lately? You've been hitting the gym like a beast. Trust me, she's not out of your league. Just go say hi. I hesitated, nerves twisting in my gut. But then I thought about Madison's words. You'll never find anyone like me. Maybe she was right. Maybe I wouldn't. But maybe, just maybe, I could find someone better. Before I could talk myself out of it, I set down my drink, squared my shoulders, and crossed the room. Hey, I said, my voice steadier than I expected. She turned, her green eyes meeting mine, and for a moment, I forgot how to breathe. Hi, she said with a smile that made my heart skip a beat. I'm Ethan, I said, suddenly aware of how stupidly nervous I sounded. Jessica, she replied. So, do you know Jake? He's the one who dragged me here tonight. Jessica laughed, a soft, musical sound that made my pulse race. Yeah, Jake's friends with my roommate. I almost didn't come either, but I'm glad I did. Our eyes met again, and something in my chest shifted. "Can I get you a drink?" I asked. "Sure," she said, her smile widening. We spent the rest of the night talking about everything and nothing. Movies, music, travel, dreams. With Jessica, the conversation flowed effortlessly. No games, no drama. Just connection. As the party wound down, I found myself wishing the night wouldn't end. "Hey, do you maybe want to grab coffee sometime?" I asked, my heart hammering in my chest. Jessica tilted her head, studying me for a moment. Then she smiled, a smile that lit up her entire face. "I'd like that." I floated home that night, my mind racing. For the first time in months, I felt hopeful. Like maybe, just maybe, things were finally starting to fall into place. But I had no idea how much my life was about to change. Because Jessica wasn't just beautiful. She was about to turn my world upside down in ways I never could have imagined. After that night at the party, Jessica and I started texting every day. What surprised me most wasn't just how easy it was to talk to her. It was how genuinely interested she seemed in me. Not in some version of myself I had to pretend to be, but the real, awkward, sometimes too serious guy I actually was. Our first coffee date was supposed to be casual, just an hour or so at this little cafe downtown. But we ended up sitting there for 3 hours, laughing over bad jokes and trading embarrassing high school stories. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about Madison. I wasn't comparing myself to anyone or wondering if I was good enough. I was just happy. Things moved fast after that. Within a few weeks, we were spending almost every weekend together, hiking, trying new restaurants, binge-watching movies on her couch until we fell asleep. Jessica had this infectious energy that made everything feel more exciting, like the world was brighter when she was around. But what really got me was how she looked at me, like I was someone worth knowing, someone worth loving. I tried to play it cool, but the truth was I was falling hard. One night, about 2 months into dating, we were lying on a blanket under the stars at this little park outside the city. The air was crisp, the kind of night where you could see every constellation. Jessica rested her head on my shoulder, her fingers tracing lazy circles on my hand. "You know," she said softly, "I had the biggest crush on you in high school." I laughed, assuming she was joking. "Yeah, right. I would have remembered that." "I'm serious," she said, sitting up to look me in the eye. "We had biology together junior year. I sat 2 rows behind you. You probably don't remember because I was, well, pretty awkward back then." I searched my memory, trying to picture her. The quiet girl with auburn hair who always had her nose in a book. How had I never noticed her? Jessica smiled a little shyly. "I used to hope you'd notice me, but I guess I blended into the background." I shook my head, still trying to wrap my mind around it. "I can't believe I didn't see you back then, but I'm glad I see you now." She leaned in, her lips brushing against mine in a kiss that made my heart stutter. When we pulled apart, her eyes searched mine with a vulnerability that made my chest ache. "I know we haven't been together long," she said, her voice soft, "but I feel like I've known you forever." "I feel the same way," I whispered, and I meant it. For the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. It happened 3 months into my relationship with Jessica. I was grabbing groceries one evening when I heard someone call my name. "Ethan." I froze, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. Turning around, I came face to face with Madison. She looked as perfect as ever. Designer jacket, flawless makeup, that confident smirk I remembered all too well. But there was something different in her eyes, something calculating. Well, look who it is," she said, tilting her head with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Didn't think I'd run into you here." "Yeah, small world," I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. "So, how have you been?" she asked, her gaze flicking over me like she was assessing every inch. "You look different. Been hitting the gym, huh?" "Yeah, I've been good," I replied shortly. "How about you?" She shrugged. "Oh, same old, same old." Her smile turned sly. "Still single, I assume." "Actually, I said, meeting her gaze head on. "I'm seeing someone." Madison's smile faltered. "Oh, who's the lucky girl?" "Her name's Jessica." I couldn't help the smile that crept across my face at the thought of her. "She's amazing." For a split second, Something flashed in Madison's eyes, something sharp and jealous. But she masked it with a laugh. Wow, didn't think you'd bounce back so fast, she said lightly. But hey, good for you. Just don't get your hopes up too high. Not everyone's cut out for the big leagues, you know. I clenched my jaw but forced a polite smile. Take care, Madison, I said before turning and walking away without looking back. That should have been the end of it. But Madison was never one to let things go. A week later, Jessica and I were having dinner at my place when my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen and froze. Madison, hope you're doing well. Maybe we should catch up sometime? I stared at the message, anger bubbling beneath my skin. After everything she'd said, the way she'd torn me down, she had the nerve to text me like nothing had happened? Everything okay? Jessica asked, noticing my expression. Yeah, I said, quickly deleting the message. Just spam. I wanted to believe that was the end of it. But Madison wasn't done. Over the next few weeks, the texts kept coming, casual at first, then increasingly suggestive. Madison, remember when we used to stay up all night talking? I miss those days. Madison, you know, if you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here. Madison, I heard about your new girl. She's cute. But are you sure she's really your type? I ignored every message, hoping she'd get the hint. But it didn't stop there. One evening, Jessica and I were out at a local bar with friends when I spotted Madison across the room. She was laughing loudly, flipping her hair, and making sure everyone noticed her. But the moment our eyes met, her smile turned into something colder, something deliberate. She lifted her drink in a mock toast and took a slow sip, never breaking eye contact. I clenched my jaw and turned back to Jessica, forcing a smile. I wasn't going to let Madison ruin this night. But as the evening went on, I couldn't shake the feeling of eyes on me. Later, when Jessica went to the restroom, Madison made her move. She appeared at my side, her smile sweet but her eyes calculating. Ethan, can't believe we keep running into each other like this. Fate, huh? It's a small town, I said flatly. And I'm here with my girlfriend. So if you'll excuse me. Relax, she purred, leaning a little too close. I just wanted to say hi. No hard feelings, right? I stepped back, my pulse pounding. Madison, whatever this is, it's not happening. I moved on. You should too. Her smile didn't waver, but her eyes darkened. You'll regret this, Ethan. You'll see. Before I could respond, she turned and disappeared into the crowd. I didn't tell Jessica about the encounter. I didn't want to worry her or give Madison the satisfaction of knowing she'd gotten under my skin. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Because Madison wasn't the type to let someone else win. After that night at the bar, I couldn't shake the feeling that Madison was lurking just beyond the edges of my life. I tried to focus on Jessica, on the happiness we were building together, but Madison's presence clung to my thoughts like a shadow I couldn't escape. The texts kept coming, always from different numbers. I blocked each one, but she found new ways to reach me. Some were flirty, some outright cruel, like she was trying to remind me of the power she used to have over me. Madison, miss me yet? Madison, I see you've upgraded. Let's see how long that lasts. Madison, she doesn't know the real you like I do. She'll figure it out eventually. I didn't respond. I told myself ignoring her would make her stop. But I underestimated how far Madison was willing to go. It all came to a head one Friday night. Jessica and I had planned a quiet evening. Just pizza, movies, and maybe a little wine. We were curled up on the couch when my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, but something in my gut told me to check. It was a photo of Jessica and me at the park the previous weekend, laughing, holding hands. Madison, cute. Too bad she has no idea what kind of guy you really are. My stomach dropped. How had she taken that picture? I looked around the room, my pulse thundering in my ears. Ethan, Jessica asked, sensing my tension. It's nothing, I lied, quickly deleting the message. But my mind was racing. Madison had crossed a line. This wasn't just texting. She was watching us. I tried to brush it off, telling myself it was a coincidence. Maybe she just happened to be at the park that day. But deep down, I knew better. The next day, I finally told Jessica everything. We were sitting at her kitchen table, the morning sunlight streaming through the window as I spilled the whole story. Madison's cheating, the breakup, the texts, the night at the bar, and now the photo. Jessica listened quietly, her expression shifting from concern to anger as I spoke. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she asked when I finished. "I didn't want to worry you," I admitted. And honestly, I thought she'd get bored and move on. Jessica reached across the table, taking my hand in hers. "Ethan, this isn't just some jealous ex. She's stalking you. We need to do something before it gets worse." She was right. I've been trying to downplay the situation, but Madison's behavior had crossed into dangerous territory. We decided to document everything. Every text, every call, every photo. I changed my phone number, hoping that would finally cut her off. For a few days, it worked, but Madison wasn't done. The breaking point came a week later. Jessica and I were leaving a local coffee shop when I spotted Madison across the street. She was standing by her car, watching us with a smile that sent a chill down my spine. Before I could react, she crossed the street, weaving through traffic like she had nothing to lose. "Ethan," she called, her voice sickeningly sweet. "Fancy seeing you here." Jessica tensed beside me, her grip tightening on my arm. "Madison, leave us alone," I said firmly. "Relax," she said with a laugh. "I just wanted to say hi. No need to be so rude." Jessica stepped forward, her green eyes blazing. "You've been stalking us, sending photos, texting from random numbers. It needs to stop now." Madison's smile didn't waver. "Stalking? Wow, someone's a little paranoid." She tilted her head, eyes gleaming with amusement. "Besides, I'm just making sure Ethan doesn't forget where he came from." "Where I came from?" I snapped. "You mean the toxic relationship you blew up because you couldn't stay faithful?" Her smile faltered for the first time. "Careful, Ethan," she said softly. "You don't want to make me angry." Jessica stepped between us, her voice cold and steady. "If you come near us again, we're going to the police. This ends now." Madison's eyes darkened, but she said nothing. Instead, she turned and walked away, her heels clicking sharply against the pavement. I exhaled slowly, tension coiled tight in my chest. "It's over," Jessica said, squeezing my hand. "She knows we're serious now." I wanted to believe her. 2 nights later, Madison broke into my apartment. It was after midnight when I woke to the sound of glass breaking. My heart leapt into my throat as I bolted upright, my mind racing. "Jessica, wake up!" I hissed, shaking her shoulder. She stirred, eyes wide with confusion. "What's wrong?" "Someone's in the apartment." We scrambled out of bed, adrenaline surging through my veins as I grabbed the baseball bat I kept by the door. Jessica clutched her phone, ready to call the police. Creeping toward the living room, I could hear footsteps, slow, deliberate, and too close. My pulse pounded in my ears as I raised the bat, stepping into the dim light. And there she was. Madison stood by the broken window, shards of glass glittering at her feet. Her hair was wild, her eyes wide with something between fury and desperation. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I just wanted to talk, but you wouldn't answer my texts. You left me no choice." "Madison, get out!" I shouted, my hands tightening on the bat. "No," she screamed. "You don't get to throw me away. After everything we had, you think you can just replace me? With her?" Jessica appeared beside me, phone in hand. "The police are on their way," she said, her voice unwavering. "You need to leave before they get here." Madison's breath hitched, her eyes darting between us. "I loved you, Ethan. I still love you. But you threw me away like I was nothing." "This isn't love, Madison," I shouted. "This is obsession. You need help, real help, but you can't get it here. You need to leave before you ruin your life even more than you already have." For a moment, she just stood there, tears streaming down her face. Then, as the distant sound of sirens echoed through the night, her eyes hardened. "This isn't over," she whispered. Then she turned and bolted through the broken window, disappearing into the darkness. The police arrived minutes later, but Madison was already gone. We filed a report, but without knowing where she'd gone, there wasn't much they could do beyond issuing a restraining order. For weeks, I lived with the constant fear that she'd come back. Every shadow felt like a threat. Every unexpected noise sent my heart racing. But she never returned. It was like she'd vanished into thin air. In the months that followed, Jessica and I worked hard to rebuild our sense of safety. I moved to a new apartment with better security, and Jessica eventually moved in with me. Slowly, the fear began to fade. But Madison's words stayed with me, a reminder of how easily a single toxic relationship could spiral out of control. A year later, I received one last message. Unknown number. I hope you're happy, Ethan. I really do. But don't forget, you'll always be mine. I blocked the number without replying. This time, I wasn't afraid, because I knew that no matter what shadows lingered in the past, I had found something stronger, something real. And no one could take that away from me.